Hey guys, welcome to another 6 Stages Gaming Deck Spotlight, and today I have for you another Budget Brew edition. If you saw our video from a couple days ago, Shido-san won an event out of Japan with the Fire Ice list, and it really got me thinking about the value that Devout brings to a deck, and a lot of you guys have been asking for a Fire Ice Budget Brew to go off of. And obviously nothing is going to be able to replace the strength of Bahamut or some of those other legends, but this will be a great start for those that are trying to get into the game and want to build a deck for, I mean, this is probably under $30, assuming you bought a starter deck, and then you can just pick up some easy rares. Now there are a few heroes, but the price of the hero cards themselves have, I think, topped off at like $6 a piece. So with the rares, the heroes, you're looking at about $30, and the rest of the deck is probably 20 bucks or less for how cheap it should be able to get. So we really want to focus on a discard attrition-based deck. So this is devoted to discard, and we're going to talk about some very interesting forward choices, then talk about the summons, and lastly follow it up with the backups. And again, a lot of this stuff is going to look familiar, but I'll talk about some of the key choices that I made between some new cards. So let's get right into it. So first we have Snow. Again, this one should be absolutely no surprise. It's just great in these more aggressive decks, and it's great for being able to clear the way for land. So this card is just absolutely 2 or 3 of, and even though it doesn't have a special to discard, I could honestly see running 3 of these in a deck because you always want to see it, and it will often get killed off pretty quickly. Going into our 2-drops, we have a 1-of Tifa. Again, this is strictly for water kick. We have Zengen, so we have ways to tutor up. But again, if you see this on your very first opening hand, it's not terrible to get in a point of damage very early on. That is something I would absolutely consider running a 2 of. Here's one of the main differences, Argath. When he enters the field, your opponent discards 1 card from his or her hand. So this is where we need to talk about the theme of the deck, or a little bit of the deck construction in itself. Discarding cards always are a little bit weaker in power. Now again, you'll see that we played Duke to give him plus 1,000 power, so a 2-drop 4K that makes our opponent discard is not terrible. The other thing to consider is that we do play Sid, and we play some other low curve ice drops that when we link attack with them, or party attack rather, it can help us still trade in our favor, because again, remember, we're spending a lot fewer resources to play the 2-drops over the course of turns, where your opponent might slam down a 5-drop and have to spend a lot more energy to get it out. And then we can then very quickly punish them by joining up with, let's say, an Argath and a Sid Reigns, being able to kill a guy and still have a guy left over. And then when you take into consideration that we can devout something back, those enter effects will trigger again. They'll make them discard 1 or 2 cards. Depending on the card itself, we can really get a lot of value out of Devout. So again, this deck is all about the attrition battle and how important Devout is to this deck and to the overall theme. We play a 2 of Sid Reigns. Again, I absolutely love this card in this list because you'll see there's many different ways we have to either ping something for an extra 1,000 damage and get that to tick up to 5,000 total damage, or there's a lot of different things that we have to use our crystal points to dump into to make Sid Reigns more reliably be able to kill things. And he's just a great answer to those early aggressive decks. Again, very much for the same logic of being able to have a lower curve with some of our 2-drops to then party attack and trade up. Warrior of Light does it all by himself. You're very easily going to be able to have a field that can either help ping away some guys, or if they're playing a bunch of 4 and 5-drops, then Warrior of Light can easily trade up and make your and heavily punish your opponent for playing those very expensive cards. So again, Warrior of Light is just a great card for either playing on curve or playing late game when your opponent has a bunch of 4 or 5-drops in the field. Up next we have Sarah, 3-drop 6K. Again, just comes into play, makes our opponent discard a card. And as someone mentioned in the comments of our previous video, this deck is all about just starving our opponent's hand and making sure that they're not able to use any specials on us. Because again, specials are very, very strong effects in this game, but they do require you to discard at least 1 card of the same name and then pay many additional costs. So if you have something like Light Cloud that has Omni Slash or Meteor Rain that require not only a cloud to discard, but then 3 or 4 resources, it can be very hard for your opponent to be able to have enough crystal points and cards in hand to be able to pay for that effect if you keep pinging away their hand by both discard effects and enforcing your opponent to play things to answer the lower curve aggression that you have. Our other hero card in the deck that plays two, we play 6 hero cards in total to define as budget. Lan is just, again, a great card. He combos so well with Snow and being able to clear the way for him. You'll see here in a little bit that we have other cards that can either help ping your opponent's guys. We have ways to boost him. There's just a lot this card does. So absolutely, if you have a fire deck, and regardless of what other element it's being combined with, I absolutely recommend having at least 2 land. And then this one should be no surprise. Anytime I run an ice deck, I basically run the 6 Terra package. This 3-drop Terra, again, is very good against other control decks that are heavy summon focused. It can be great on defensive well. They can give it plus 3k in first strike. All around a great card by itself. But what it is really tooled for is the other Terra. And the Magic Charge is just a great ability because, again, you can ping some guys and get that 8,000 damage. And actually, someone else mentioned in our video last week, you can chase the enter effect by both abilities. So again, Terra enters, you then chain the plus 1,000 damage, or let's say you have a couple extra ice crystal points to use. You can spend those to deal 1,000 damage or something, and then use Magic Charge. So all those effects will deal double damage. So again, it resolves in reverse order, and it's going to be able to do 10,000 damage very easily for the cost of discarding 1 and 1 ice element. So that can be something that's going to kill anything on board when she enters. And then our last hero in the deck, and I do apologize, I forgot 3-drop Terra is a hero as well, but I'm fairly certain she's like $2 or less. Or at least the last time I looked on big orbit cards. So all together, again, I do apologize, but the heroes in this deck probably cost 40 bucks or less. And then lastly, we have Joseph. Now, this is a very interesting choice. The reason why I included him is because he's an 8k with Brave, so he's a very strong attacker. We do play the ice backup, so he becomes a 9k, but also he has the ability to dull himself and put him into the break zone, and to save another forward. So again, it has to be blocking, so that is a condition, but then it can't be broken. So it allows you to either block something with him, or after you attack, maybe there's a different forward that you need to save. Let's say you want to block with a Laguna instead because it has a higher power, and then they do some kind of battle trick to maybe get rid of your Laguna that you can then save your Laguna with Joseph, and because Laguna is going to be a maximum of 10k power in the deck, it's often going to be a little bit more important to save some of your other forwards. But again, this is just a great value attacker who can sometimes have some good value later in the game. Then we play 2 Tifa, again, potentially an 8k haste with Water Kick to clear the board. It's just an absolutely relevant body to have, and again, being able to Water Kick something away to kill it and or just remove a blocker are both very strong effects. Now here is the other interesting one that I kind of added in, Furion, and this is strictly because we do run 3 summoners, so we will have a later game resource where we're having, okay, we have 5 backups in field, we can't use anything else with them, and this allows us to have additional things to do with our crystal points, and what I love is that it costs any because it's that clear symbol, it's colorless, if you will. Any crystal points we use, we can dump into this, and it's very easy then to give him a first strike and deal 1,000 damage to something, or give him 1,000 power, whichever way you want to look at it. So he can effectively, if you will, be a first striking 8k attacker. And the beauty of this card is you get to freely attack. Let's just say you have up 5 backups. You go, okay, opponent, you can block this card and make me spend my crystal points, but I guarantee you're going to lose your forward in the trade. So this is a card that your opponent is not going to want to block whenever you have open crystal points. So again, it's very important that you're playing your forwards during the second main phase so you can attack with this card freely and kind of fake out your opponent. So if they don't block, it goes through, great, you can use your crystal points for other things. Let's say you do force them to block, then sure, you have to use your crystal points to give them first strike other things, but you're still taking care of their other 4. Now, this isn't something that I generally bring back with Devout, but I very strongly felt that it was just a great utility card to have because we do play a very backup-focused deck that can very easily pump them out. Wrapping up with discard, it should be no surprise that we're playing this combo again. So Squall, if you have Laguna, he can become a 10k as well. And then when he enters the battlefield, each player discards a card. If you have Laguna, your opponent discards 1 more. So generally speaking, if you're focused on the discard, you want to be playing Laguna first. If you are more focused on freezing something, you want to play Squall first. So think about your matchup and how those are going to interact with each other. And then we have Laguna. So again, can become a maximum of 10k with the backup. It can come into play and dull something, so it can clear the way again for land, or if you want to be able to clear the way for snow as well. And it can also freeze something. And then our last forward is kind of just a one-of because it is expensive and it is very scary to use sometimes, is Sephiroth. When it comes into play, both players discard 2 cards from his or her hand. So again, in general, you want to be playing this as kind of the last card out of your hand. So very late game or mid to late game, depending on how the game goes, you're going to have 3, 4, or 5 backups in play. You're going to have like 3 cards in hand. You're going to be able to play the other card, then maybe pitch 1 card to use your rest of your Crystal Point backups to play Sephiroth and just make your opponent discard 2 cards. And again, it's great because he's a 7k naturally, and then he's going to become an 8k first strike attacker with the backup in the field. So this can be a very difficult card for your opponent to answer. For summons, we needed something, and for this, I chose Brynhildr. It's very important to consider that we get a summon that can deal 7,000 damage for free. Now, again, I don't necessarily want to be casting this card in this deck unless your opponent has something like a Squall. Then absolutely, this deck, if you see a Squall on the other side of the table, you must kill it ASAP because it's going to hurt your deck a lot, and that's why we included Brynhildr. Again, Bahamut, it's certainly no Bahamut replacement for what that does for the deck, but in terms of just having kind of a cheap replacement, this is absolutely a good card to have. And then we're going to go into our backups. 3 summoners, again, it's strictly just a great accelerator to have. You can play it for quote-unquote free on turn 2, and it plays very well into not only the discarding aspect of this deck, but also the Devout plan, because Devout takes a lot of resources and a lot of time to get its effect, and that can be mitigated by playing multiple summoners over the course of a few turns, where we can then generate that value over the course of a couple turns. So again, the earlier you play summoner in your backup, and the more value it's going to generate over the course of the game, and make it easier for us to use Devout. 3 Jill, no surprise here, it's just the best 2-drop ice backup and one of the best ice backups, period. The fact it has an EX burst is insane. Its enter the battlefield effect is great. Its special is even good. So again, if you're playing an ice deck, absolutely run 3 of these every time. 3 Duke, don't need to say much about this. I've been saying about it all game. Giving your ice forwards plus 1,000 power is extremely relevant. The fire forwards that we do run don't necessarily need the power boost, or we have other ways to do it, so it's not a big deal. 2 Mog, this is, again, pretty much strictly for snow. I made a mistake in the last video. You can only tutor forwards. But again, you want to be finding snow with this every single time. Snow is just such an important part of the deck. 3 Devout, 3 4-drop Devout. Again, no surprise. Here you get a 4-drop cost or less from your backup back into the battlefield. And again, it does trigger those effects again. So the discard or the freeze or all the other effects that your deck does can really be great. Now again, you can only activate this on your turn, so you can't, let's say, dull one of their attackers out of nowhere. But again, this deck is all about getting the value over the course of the game, forcing your opponent to discard, and Devout can help you bring back those key forwards when you need them. 2 Zangan, again, being able to tutor up Tifa for free is great. Giving your 4-drop Tifa haste is also insane. And again, it's just great for being able to find another Tifa so we can water kick. And the more times that we hit this in the game, the better, because again, Water Kick is such a strong ability for getting in those last couple points of damage, or again, clearing the way for Snow, so then he can freely attack, tap something else down, and then suddenly you've knocked out 2 of their blockers for that turn, and you're swinging through for a lot of damage. And then lastly, we have Ren, however you say it. Again, just combos very, very well with land. And again, something I just kind of wrote off the first time until I actually read it again. You go to combat, they block, you can boost land by 1,000, he survives combat. So this card is just great utility for keeping land on the board and making sure that the blocks are always going in your favor and making sure that you don't have to worry about their combat tricks or what they might have. Again, if they have something that just straight up kills it or something that you can't overcome the power difference from, then obviously it's going to die, but at least there are some options to help land survive combat and make him a little bit better of a beater in the deck. So that is the discard focused deck that I have for you guys, the budget Fire Ice list. Again, the Fire is really just in here for a couple key cards, but it is mostly an ice focused deck. And again, I do apologize, I kind of broke my own rule. There are 9 hero cards in the deck. I forgot the other Terra was a hero card because she's just dirt cheap to find otherwise, unless you want a foil, then the foils are absurd. So I do apologize I broke that rule a little bit, but it's still very much a budget brew, under $50. I'd be very shocked if you include shipping and all that stuff coming out of the UK. That'd be even over 60, just depending on how much you have to pay for shipping where at. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Let me know what you think about the video. Let me know what kind of discard decks that you've been running. You know, originally when we started this, we did a Wind Ice variant, which we didn't like too well. We're going to try this in a dual series coming up for you either the end of the week or next week and kind of see how that discard element plays out. But as a control player, I absolutely love discard effects, and I cannot wait to be finding some more decks that really get to utilize those discard effects and how we can use them more. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let us know you change the list. Make sure to share our videos with friends to get the word of Final Fantasy TCG out there, and we will catch you on the next 6 Sages Gaming Budget Brew. Have a good one.